Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy Storytime Tuesday to you and yours. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. For many of us in the U.S. and possibly elsewhere, I don't know. I've never actually researched to find out who all might celebrate Labor Day. We enjoyed a long weekend. So today was Monday, even though today is Tuesday. And needless to say, it messed up my whole weekend. It'll mess up my whole week. And it's okay, because I remembered that today was Tuesday. And that I got to come and spend some time with all of you. Reading from Juxtaposition, Book 3 of the Apprentice Adept series. So, hopefully, you guys are ready for all of that fun. As always, if you missed any of the previous chapters, they are available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius. You can catch chapters 1 through 7, as well as books 1 and 2, and other things that I have done. So feel free to stop out there if you have missed, or if you have to miss part of tonight and you're going to miss it, stop out to the YouTube channel. Do me a favor, make sure that when you are there, you subscribe for me. Help me to continue to grow that YouTube channel. Share my recordings with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your acquaintances, the guys you meet on the street, everybody. Help me to continue my push to 1,000 subscribers, would you? We'll get there eventually. May take a while, and it's okay. I'm here for the long haul. Now, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week before we dive into this week's reading. So, we saw Style returning to Proton. He got to meet some of his staff that Sheen had hired. He proposed to Sheen at the request and suggestion of the Lady Blue. After some quibbling about it, Sheen accepted. Doing this in part because that will help to give legitimacy to the self-willed robots. Because if Sheen can be a legitimate heir, spouse and heir to a citizen, that gives her personhood, which will open the door for others to have personhood. Isn't it nice? Then we saw Style go to an engagement or a party of citizens, and he got to meet some of them, ran into the rifleman, and did some gambling. Won some money. He, increased his 1 kilogram? 1 kilogram steak, 1 gram, whatever it is that he's got. His stake of protonite, and he increased it by getting some winnings in, and it was really to put it out there that he is somebody who is willing to bet his money and wager it all. He then he leaves there. He's propositioned by another citizen Merle, who is an older woman who looks like a younger woman and is interested in teaching him the ropes. He's put her off for now, but we'll see what happens. And then he gets a call from the Lady Blue, basically saying that they are being threatened and then attacked in phase. He has Sheen dart as quickly as she can towards a curtain crossing, but it's gonna take time. So in the meantime, we see Clip helping to defend the Lady Blue. against ogres. And then Trool the Troll shows up. You guys may remember Trool the Troll saved them from the orange adept on the honeymoon. And helps to protect the Lady Blue and Hin Blue, and Clip is doing his best to defend, and he kills a couple of the ogres. He ends up getting hit by one of the ogres, and it basically breaks his back half. And then he is lured away through the draw of magic from another adept who sent in a unicorn filly to draw him away. An illusory unicorn filly to draw Clip away, so he was no longer protecting the Lady Blue. But it's too late. Style has arrived. Clip is gone, but Style has arrived. He makes, short work of capturing the other ogres, gets the dead to, because one of the dead ogres is the one who got an oracular message, gets that one to say the true message, which was Blue is not your enemy. And he lets the ogres go to go and tell the rest of their people that message. He finds that he cannot trace where Clip went because he is being stymied by adept magic. So he needs to go tell the unicorn stallion, the herd stallion, what has happened. And so he makes his way over there. He tells the... he doesn't break it to the herd stallion. He goes and talks to Nasa. Lady Blue breaks it to the herd stallion. The herd stallion, says, it is my vengeance to have, but I will find you, we will look for another steed for you in the meantime while you are, attempting to do this. While they are there, they are approached by the yellow adept, who flies in on a dragon and delivers a package to Style. And turns out it is Clip's horn. Clip is angry. The herd stallion is angry. And basically, Style is working himself up for another oath of vengeance. And the herd stallion says, no, it is my vengeance to have. And so the two of them are going to work together. The herd stallion is going to be Styles' steed as they go on their vengeance quest. It was going to take some time to find out where Clip has ended up. The herd stallion is going to send somebody to the Oracle to get a message. And in the meantime, Style has to go back to Proton because he has to keep up appearances there as well. And so that is where we will pick up our story this evening. So, everybody, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we get ready to dive into another evening of story time. Juxtaposition, Book 3 of the Apprentice Adept series. As always, I am recording this, so I won't be answering questions or engaging during the chapters, but you guys are welcome to engage with each other or to ask me questions, and I will be happy to speak back and answer questions or engage between chapters. So, everybody, let's get ourselves started, shall we? Chapter 8, Wager. So, I have most of 24 hours in Proton, Style said to Sheen, before the stallion and I commence our mission of rescue and vengeance. I'll have to spend some of that time in sleep, gathering my strength. I trust you have my business here well organized? We do, she agreed brightly. Mellon has lined up a number of wealthy citizens who are eager to wipe you out financially. My friends have worked out a way to trace the original message to Citizen Calder, but only you, An interested citizen can implement it, and there is reaction approaching suppressed riot to the news of the designation of your heir. That's enough to start on, Styles said. Maybe it will distract me for the moment from my real concern and phase. Let's see how much we can sandwich in. I don't know how long my next adventure in phase will hold me. Perhaps forever, she said darkly. Then mechanically she reverted to immediate business. Start on which, sir? You can't do everything at once. Why not? The bedders are in the Stellar Lounge as before. The panel for your heir designation hearing is in another dome, 100 kilometers distant. And the first obscurity in the message chain is at a dome 50 kilometers beyond that, in the private property of a citizen. Any one of these situations can monopolize your available time. You think too much like a machine, he chided her. Take me to the hearing. Meanwhile, call the Stellar Lounge. Frowning, she set the travel capsule in motion and placed the call. Melon appeared in three-dimensional image. So good to see you, sir. May I notify the citizens that you are ready for action? Do so, Styles said, but advise them that I have unusual and challenging bets in mind and will welcome them at the site of my heir designation hearing. You be there too. Yes, sir. Immediately, there was an incoming call. It was Citizen Merle. My intercept notified me you were back in town, she said brightly. Have you considered my invitation of the morning? Not this again. Merle, I remain flattered, but there are things you should know. About your lovely wife in the other frame? Style, that has no force in proton. About my engagement to the Surf Sheen here? Style said, unpleased about Merle's conversance with his private life. Too many citizens were learning too much about him. Yes, I mean to place a bet on the outcome of your hearing, Merle agreed. I'm rooting for you, Style. I'm betting you will gain approval, after a struggle. Citizens are by no means limited in their liaisons. I have gifted my husband with a number of fine concubines, and he has sent me whatever males he suspects will appeal to my tastes. In any event, you need have no concern about the feelings of a serf. Styles suffered an explosive reaction of rage. Sheen made an urgent signal. Do not offend this citizen. Then Style had a tactical inspiration. Merle, I do care about the feelings of this serf. I was until very recently a serf myself. Until I have a better notion of her willingness to share, I cannot give you a decision. Merle smiled. Oh, I do like you, little man. You are like a splendid fish fighting the line. I shall be in touch with you anon. She faded. Sir, I never denied you the right to, Sheen began. Secure our privacy, he snapped. She adjusted the communication controls. Secure, sir? Then why are you still calling me sir? Style. Our relationship has changed. We are no longer even nominally members of the same society, and I prefer to recognize that in the established way. Sir. You're mad at me? A machine cannot be angry, sir. Fat chance. Sheen, you know that our marriage is one of convenience. I'm doing it to give your friends leverage in their suit for recognition. The upcoming hearing will be a crucial step. If we prevail there, it will be a big stride forward for your kind. I do like you. In fact, I love you. But the Lady Blue will always hold the final key to my heart. I understand, sir. Her face was composed. So, being faithful to you in this frame is moot, he continued, wishing she would show more of the emotion he knew she felt. It is the Lady Blue I am faithful to. But aside from that, there is the matter of appearances. If I am engaged to you, but have liaisons with fleshly women, especially citizens, that can be taken as evidence as that I am marrying you in name only, to designate a convenient heir, and that could destroy the leverage we hope to gain." "Yes, sir," she agreed noncommittally. "So, there is no way I am making an assignation with Merrill. If I do that with anyone in this frame, it will be you, because you are my fiancé, and because there is no one in this frame I would rather do it with. So in that sense, I am true to you. I wanted to be sure you understand." "I understand, sir. There is no need to review it." So, he hadn't persuaded her. "Yes, I need to review it, because now I have in mind to do something extremely cynical, an act worthy of a true citizen. And I need your help." "You have it, sir." "I want you to have your friends arrange a blind bet on the outcome of Merle's suit. An anonymous, coded bet amounting to my entire available net worth at the time of decision, that I will not complete that liaison. I will, of course, deny any intent to make that liaison, but I may at times seem to waver. You and I know the outcome, but other citizens may wish to bet the other way. It would be a foolish bet for them, but they seem to like such foolishness." Sheen smiled. "That is indeed cynical, sir. I shall see to it. And it would not hurt if you permitted yourself some trifling show of jealousy, even if you feel none." She paused. "You are devious, sir." "I have joined a devious society. Meanwhile, I shall remain on the fence with Merle, in all but words, as long as I can stimulate interest. See that Mellon is privately notified. He definitely has the need to know." The capsule arrived at the dome of the hearing. They emerged into a white-columned court, flooded with marble, spacious and airy as a Greek ruin. 3 citizens sat behind an elevated desk. A 4th citizen stood before the desk, evidently with another case. Styles' turn had not yet come. The betting citizens were arriving. A rotund man garbed like a Roman senator approached, hand extended. "Greetings, Style. I am Walden's, and I'm interested in your offer. What is its nature?" "Thank you, Walden's. I'm about to face a hearing on the validity of my designation of my fiancé, a humanoid robot, as my heir to citizenship. I proffer a wager as to the panel's decision." "Most interesting," Walden's agreed. "I doubt they will approve the designation." "I am prepared to wager whatever my financial advisor will permit that they will approve it." Styles said, "It is, after all, a citizen's right to designate whom he pleases." "Ah, yes. But a robot is not a whom, but an it. Only recognized people can inherit citizenship." "Is there a law to that effect?" "Why, I assume so. It is certainly customary." Now Mellon arrived. Style quickly acquainted him with the situation. "How much will you let me bet?" he asked, knowing that Mellon, as a self-willed machine in touch with the network of his kind, would have a dear notion of the legalistic background. But the serf hesitated. "Sir, this is an imponderable. The decision of the panel is advisory, without binding force. If there is a continuing challenge, a formal court will be convened." "Come off it, serf," Walden snapped. "We're only betting on this particular decision. What the court does later will be grist for another wager. How much protonite can Style afford to risk?" "He has limited me to 100 grams, Style said, catching Sheen's covert affirmative signal. That meant the machines had researched the issue and believed the odds were with Style. He should win this bet, but he was going to have to play it carefully.
100 grams? Walden laughed. I did not come all the way here in person for such minor action.
"I regret that my estate is yet minimal," Style said, "but it is growing. I have won all bets made so far. I assure you that I have an appetite for larger bets, when I can afford them. I plan to increase my estate enormously.
All right, Style, you're peanuts, but I like your spirit. Should be good entertainment here. I'll play along with a small bet now, but I'll expect a big one later on if you're in shape for it. Shall we compromise at half a kilo now?
Melon looked pained, but under Walden's glare he slowly acquiesced. Half a kilogram of protonite, Style agreed, putting on a pale face himself. 500 grams was half the ransom of a citizen, and more than half Styles' entire available amount for betting. His fortune stood at 1,219 grams, but he had to hold 250 for living expenses. What he was laying on the line now was enough to buy 100 sophisticated robots like Sheen and Melon, or to endow the tenure of 1,100 serfs, all in one bet, which his opponent considered to be a minor figure, a nuisance indulged in only for entertainment. Meanwhile, other citizens had arrived, intrigued by the issue. Novelty was a precious commodity among those who had everything. Two paired off, taking the two sides with matching half-kilo bets. Two more bet on whether there would be an immediate appeal of the panel's recommendation, whatever it was. Citizens certainly love to gamble. The prior case cleared, and it was Styles' turn before the panel.
It has been brought to our attention that you propose to designate a humanoid robot as your heir to citizenship, the presiding citizen said. Do you care to present your rationale?
Style knew this had to be good. These were not objective machines, but subjective people, which was why there could be no certainty about the decision. The wrong words could foul it up. I am very recent citizen, whose life has been threatened by calamitous events. I am conscious of my mortality and wish to provide for the continuation of my estate. Therefore, I have designated as my heir the person who is closest to me in Proton, my prospective wife, the Lady Sheen, here. He indicated Sheen, who cast her eyes down demurely.
She happens to be a lady robot. As you surely know, robots are sophisticated today. She is hardly distinguishable from a living person in ordinary interactions. She can eat, sleep, and initiate complex sequences. She can even evince bad temper. The typical woman.
The presiding citizen agreed with a brief smile.
Please come to the point.
Sheen has saved my life on more than one occasion, and she means more to me than any other person here. I have made her my chief of staff and am satisfied with the manner in which she is running my estate. I want to make our association more binding. Unless there is a regulation preventing the designation of one's wife as one's heir, I see no problem. The three panelists deliberated.
There is no precedent, the presiding citizen said. No one has designated a robot before. Machines do well enough as staff members, concubines, stand-ins, and such. But seldom is one married, and never have we had a non-human citizen.
If an alien won the tourney one year, would it be granted citizenship? Style asked.
Of course. Good point, the citizen said, nodding. But robots are not permitted to participate in the game, so cannot win the tourney.
Do you mean to tell me that a frog-eyed, tentacular mass of slime from the farthest wash of the galaxy can be a citizen, but this woman cannot? Style demanded, again indicating Sheen. The citizens of the panel and of the group of bettors looked at Sheen, considering her as a person. She stood there bravely, smooth chin elevated, green eyes bright, her light brown hair flowing down her backside. Her face and figure were exquisitely female. There was even a slight flush at her throat. She had been created beautiful. In this moment, she was splendid.
But a robot has no human feelings, another panelist said.
How many citizens do? Style asked. The bettors laughed.
Good shot, Waldens muttered.
The panelists did not respond to the humor.
A robot has no personal violation. Volition, the presiding citizen said. A robot is not alive.
This was awkward territory. Style had promised not to give away the nature of the self-willed machines, who did indeed have personal volition. But he saw a way through. Sheen is a very special robot, the top of her class of machine, he said. Her brain is half digital, half analog, much as is the human brain, figuratively. Two hemispheres with differing modes of operation. She approximates human consciousness and initiative as closely as a machine can. She has been programmed to resemble a living woman in all things, to think of herself as possessing the cares and concerns of life. She believes she has feelings and volition, because this is the nature of her program and her construction. As he spoke, he remembered his first discussion with Sheen on this subject, before he discovered the frame of phase. He had chided her on her illusion of consciousness, and she had challenged him to prove he had free will. She had won her point, and he had come to love her as a person, a robot person. He had tended to forget, since his marriage to the Lady Blue, how deep his feelings for Sheen was. Now he was swinging back to her. He truly believed she was a real person, whose mechanism happened to differ from his own, but resulted in the same kind of personality.
Many creatures have illusions, a panelist remarked. This is no necessary onus for citizenship.
Style saw that more would be required to overcome their prejudice. He would have to do a thing he did not like. Sheen, how do you feel about me? He asked. I love you, sir, she said. But you know I cannot truly love a machine. I know, sir. And you are a machine. Yes, sir. I will marry you and designate you as my heir to citizenship. But I will not love you as man to woman. You know it is a marriage of convenience. I know, sir. Why do you submit to this indignity?
Because she wants citizenship,
a citizen exclaimed. He was one of the ones betting against the acceptance of the heir designation. Style turned to the man. How can a machine want? Then he returned to Sheen. Do you want citizenship? No, sir. Then why did you accede to this arrangement? Because your wife in phase asked me to.
Ho ho! A stand-in for the other frame wife, Walden said knowingly. Cast in her image?
No, sir. She is beautiful, Sheen said. I can never substitute for her.
I am interested, the presiding panelist said. Robot, are you capable of emotion? Do you feel, or think you feel? Do you want anything?
Yes, sir, to all three, Sheen replied.
Exactly what do you want, if not citizenship?
I want Styles' love, sir, she said. The panelist looked at his co-panelists.
Let the record note that the robot is crying.
All the citizens looked closely at Sheen. Her posture and expression had not changed, but the tears were streaming down her cheeks.
Why would any woman, human or robot, cry in response to simple, straightforward questions? A panelist asked.
Citizen Waldens stepped forward suddenly, putting his cloaked arm around Sheen's shoulder.
For God's sake, she is not on trial. Spare her this cruelty.
The presiding panelist nodded sagely.
She weeps because she knows she can never have her love returned by the man she loves, no matter what else he gives her. Our questioning made this truth unconscionably clear, causing her to react as the woman she represents would act. I do not believe she was conscious of the tears, or that this is a detail that would have occurred to a man. He pondered a moment, then spoke deliberately. We of this panel are not without feeling ourselves. We are satisfied that this person, the robot Sheen, is as deserving of citizenship as is a frog-eyed, tentacular mass of slime from the farthest wash of the galaxy.
He glanced at his co-panelists for confirmation.
We therefore approve the robot Sheen's designation as heir, pending such decision as the court may make.
The citizens applauded politely. Walden's brought Sheen back to Style.
I'm glad to lose that bet, Style. She's a good woman. Reminds me of my wife, when she was young and feeling. This robot deserves better than you are giving to her.
Yes, Style agreed. Walden started to turn away, then snapped back in a double take.
I'll be damned. You're crying too.
Style nodded dumbly.
And you think you don't love her?
The citizen shrugged.
Care to make a bet on that?
No, Style said. Sheen turned to him with an incredulous surmise. The illusion of non-feeling. It is yours, she said. The lady knew. The lady had known. Style was indeed a man of two loves, suppressing one for the sake of the other. In vain.
Well, I'll bet you on something else, Walden said. 1 kilo this time. I happen to know you can afford it.
Style wrenched himself back to the practicalities of the moment. He looked at Mellon. Can I?
Sir, your betting is becoming more hazardous than necessary.
That's his way of saying yes, Walden said. I feel you owe me one more bet. It wasn't right to use your girl that way. You set her up for it, knowing how she loved you.
Yet he gave back more than he took, Sheen said. There was now a certain radiance about her, the knowledge of discovered treasure. Style had actually set himself up. I'll give you your bet, Style agreed, and I'll match anybody else, if I don't run out of grams. Right now I have to trace an old message to its source. Care to bet whether I make it?
No, I don't know enough about the situation, but I'll bet when I do. You are involved in odd things for a new citizen. Usually, they're busy for the first month just experiencing the novelty of having serfs say sir to them.
I have some equipment waiting at the site, Style said. He gave the address and the other citizens dispersed to their private capsules. Alone with Sheen and Mellon in his own capsule, Style looked at Sheen. Emotion overwhelmed him. Damn, he exclaimed. I'm sorry, Sheen. She paused momentarily, analyzing which level he was on. You had to do it, sir. It was necessity, not cruelty, sir. Stop calling me sir, he cried. When we are alone, she agreed. Maybe I am fooling myself. Maybe what I feel for you is what most others would call love. But since I met the Lady Blue, she laid her soft hand on his. I would not change you if I could. Which was what the Lady Blue had said. Sheen could have had no way to know that.
It is an interesting relation you share, Mellon said. I am not programmed for romantic emotion. I admit to curiosity as to its nature and usefulness.
You are better off not knowing, Sheen said, squeezing Styles' hand.
I do experience excitement when a large property transaction is imminent.
If the self-willed machines gain recognition, Style said, you will receive whatever programming you wish, including romantic. For now, she's right. You are happier as you are.
I will be ecstatic if I complete your target fortune. So far, I have had little to do with it. I fear my circuits will short out observing your mode of operation.
Style smiled. Now that I have inordinate wealth, I find it does not mean much to me, he said. It is merely the substance of another game. I want to win, of course, but my real ambition lies elsewhere. He glanced again at Sheen. My emotion is so erratic. I really think it would be better for you to accept programming to eliminate your love for me. It would save you so much grief. Or you could accept conditioning to eliminate your love for the Lady Blue, she said.
Touché.
Or to diminish your prejudice against robots.
I'm not prejudiced against...
He paused. Damn it. Now I know I could love you. Sheen, if I didn't have the Lady Blue, but my cultural conditioning, I would prefer to give up life itself rather than lose her. Of course, I feel the same about you. Now I know I have enough of you to make my existence worthwhile. She was happy with half a loaf. Styles still felt guilty. Sometimes I wish there were another me, that I had two selves again, with one who was available for citizenship and who would love you, while the other could roam free forever in phase. He sighed. But of course, when there were two of me, I knew about none of this. My other self had the Lady Blue. That self committed suicide, she said. Suicide? By no means. He was murdered. He accepted murder. Perhaps that is not clear to your illogical and vacillating mind. My mind was his. In a different situation, he had reason. Accepted murder. Sal considered that. He had marveled before that the Blue Adept had been dispatched by so crude a device, strangled by a demon from an amulet. It was indeed a suspicious situation. No magic of that sort had been able to kill Style. Why had it worked against his other self? And the Blue Adept's harmonica, his prized possession, had been left for Style to find, conveniently. Yet suicide, could that be believed? If so, why? Why would any man permit himself to be ignominiously slain? Why specifically should Style himself, in his other guise, permit it? He simply was not the type. You say he had reason. Why do you feel he did that? Because he lacked enough of the love of the one he loved, she said promptly. But the Lady Blue gave him the third thee, he protested. In phase, that is absolute love. But it was late and slow, and as much from duty and guilt as from true feeling, much the same as your love for me. I, too, tried to suicide. Indeed she had, once. One might debate whether a non-living creature could die, but Sheen had certainly tried to destroy herself. Only the compassion of the Lady Blue had restored Sheen's will to endure. The Lady Blue, obviously, had understood. What a hard lesson she had learned when her husband died. Somehow, I shall do right by you, Sheen, Styles said. I don't know how, right now, but I will find a way. Maybe with magic, she said, unsmiling. They arrived at the site of the message tracing team. Styles was glad to let this conversation drop. He loved Sheen, but not consistently and not enough. His personal life and Proton seemed to be an unravelable knot. They were in one of the public lavatories for serfs, with rows of sinks, toilets, and showers. The message cable passed the length of its floor, buried but within range of the detector. Passing serfs, seeing a citizen present, hastily departed for other facilities. There was a serf technician with a small but complex machine on two wheels. The machine blinked and beeped in response to the serf's comments. No, Style realized, it was the other way around. The serf commented in response to the device. It was another self-willed machine, with a subordinate serf. A neat way to conceal the real nature of the assistance being provided. The self-willed machines had considerable resources, but did not want to betray their nature to the citizens, lest the machines be summarily destroyed. There was a difference between being programmed to mimic personal volition as Sheen was presumed to be, and actually possessing that volition, as Sheen and her kind did. The makers of these most sophisticated robots had wrought better than they knew, which was the reason these machines wanted legal recognition as people. They were people, of mechanical nature. With such recognition, they could not be dispatched without legal reason, lest it be called murder. The signals from the machine were more or less continuous and were ignored by the citizens who joined Styles' party for the betting. Thus, the real nature of the communications was not obvious. Only Style, with his private knowledge of these special machines and his game-trained alertness for detail, was aware of it. "What have we here?" he inquired of the serf. "Sir, this is an electronic device that can trace the route of a particular message at a particular moment," the serf said. "Each message modifies the atomic structure of the transmission wires nominally. This change is so small that only a sophisticated instrument can detect it, and the range is quite limited. But it is possible to trace the stigmata by examining the wires at close range, provided we know precisely what we are looking for." "Like a hound sniffing a scent," Style said. The machine bleeped. "Yes, sir," the serf said.
"That's a new one to me," Walden said, "but I never did concern myself with machines. I think I'll buy me one like the metal lady here, if I don't win this one in a bet."
Both Sheen and Style reacted, startled. Neither was pleased. Walden's laughed.
"Style, you don't have to bet anything you don't want to, but you should be aware that this lady robot is now a piece worth a good deal more than she was when new. If you lose a big one and have to make a new stake, she is it."
He glanced at the message tracing machine.
"Now, let's see this contraption operate."
"You have programmed the specific message and time of transmission?" Style inquired. "Why are you unable to continue?" Again, the bleep. "Yes, sir. We have traced the message to this point, but ahead the cable passes through a juncture associated with the estate of a citizen who denied us permission to prospect here."
"Oh, now the challenge comes clear,"
Walden said. "What citizen?" "Sir, serfs do not identify citizens by name," the serf said, translating the machine's signals. "But his designation is at the gate." Walden strode out of the lavatory and down the hall to examine the gate. The others followed.
"Circle tesseract symbol."
He brought out a miniature mic.
"Who's that?"
"Sir, that is Lady Certes," his contacts answered.
"Certes. Circle tesseract. That figures. Same way I have a forest pond on my crest. I know him," Walden's considered. "Style, I'm ready to bet. You won't get into that dome to trace your line. You'll have to go around and pick up beyond."
"Is that feasible?" Style asked his technician serf. "Not feasible, sir. This is a major cable junction. Billions of impulses have passed through it. We can trace the stigmata only by setting up at the junction and reading the routing there." "Needle in a haystack," Style said. "Sir?" "Never mind. I grasp the problem. We shall simply have to get to the switchbox."
"That's my bet, Style," Walden said. "Let's put a reasonable time limit on it. Shall we say half an hour for you to get the job done?"
Style looked at the message tracing serf. "How long to pass this junction without impediment?" "It is merely a matter of getting to it, sir. The readout is instant." Style looked at Mellon. How much may I bet?"
"The amount is settled," Walden's protested. 1 kilo.
Mellon was unhappy.
"Sir, this is extremely chancy, incorporating virtually no element of predictability, and the amount is large. Have you any reasonable expectation of obtaining permission to enter Citizen Certis's dome in the next half hour?"
"No, but that's not the bet. It's whether I can get the job done."
"Ho ho!" Walden's exclaimed. "You intend to go in without permission?"
Style shrugged. "I intend to get the job done."
Certus has armed guards and laser barriers, another citizen said. Almost every year, some foolishly intruding serf gets fried. It would take a mechanized army to storm that citadel.
Walden smiled.
Sirs, I think we have a really intriguing wager in the making. What do you deem to be the odds against Styles' success? Remember, here's a canny ex-serf who recently won the tourney. He surely has some angle.
1,000 to 1 against for any ordinary person, the other citizen said. 100 to 1 against for a tourney winner, and a good chance he'll get himself killed trying.
I saw him play, a third citizen said. He's a slippery one. If he thinks he can do it, maybe he can.
I don't think I can do it, Styles said. I have to do it. Forces were set in motion to kill me, and this message is related. I must ascertain its source.
Within half an hour?
Walden's asked. I suspect that if I don't pass this nexus in that time, I won't pass it at all. It is pass-fail right now.
And you are staking your life on it, Walden said. That makes the bet most interesting. Suppose we give you odds. We think the chances are 100 to 1 against you. You evidently think we can do it. We could compromise at 10 to 1, with several of us covering the bet.
That's generous enough, Style agreed, since I have to make the attempt anyway. Sir, I do not recommend this wager, Mellon said. I know of no persuasion you can make to obtain Citizen Certus's acquiescence, and you lack the facilities for intrusion against resistance. My expert advice can bring you far more favorable betting opportunities than this.
15 to 1, Walden said. I won't go higher. I don't trust you to be as naive as you seem.
The other citizens nodded agreement. Their faces were becoming flushed. This was the essence of their pleasure. Negotiating a large bet on a highly questionable issue. Gambling not merely with wealth, but with the deviousness of human comprehension and intent. They knew Style had something in mind, and it was worth poorer odds to discover what his play would be. Style spread his hands in ordinary man innocence. Mellon, I'm sure your way is more practical, but I stand to win a great deal on this, with these levered odds. If I lose, I'm in trouble anyway, because this intrusion may be physically hazardous. Wealth is very little use to a dead man, so I must do it my way this time. 1 kilogram of protonite against their 15 kilos, half an hour from now. Yes, sir, Mellon said, with doleful resignation. But no interference from you citizens, Style cautioned. If you give away the show to Certus...
No cheating, Walden's agreed. We'll want via a routine pickup, hidden in the lavatory.
Thank you. Style turned to the machine operating serf. Show me how to work this contraption, he said. Merely located over the line or nexus, sir. It will emit code lights and bleeps to enable you to orient correctly. He demonstrated. Style tried the procedure on the section of cable under the floor, getting the hang of it. He knew he would have no trouble, since this was another self-willed machine, which would guide him properly. Now Style turned to one of the betting citizens, who wore an elaborate headdress that vaguely resembled an ancient Amarin chief's bonnet of feathers. I proffer a side bet. My clothing against your hat, on the flip of a coin.
How small can you get?
The citizen asked, surprised. I've staked a kilo, and you want my hat? You decline my wager? Style asked evenly. The citizen frowned. No, I merely think it's stupid. You can buy your own hat. You have no need of mine. And your clothing would not fit me. The man touched his bulging middle. His mass was twice Styles. So, you agree to bet. Style looked around. Does anyone have a coin with head and tail, similar to those used in tourney contests? Another citizen nodded. I am a numismatist. I will sell you a coin for your clothing. Now Style was surprised. My clothing has already been committed. I'm calling your bluff. I don't believe you plan to strip, so I figure you two arrange to win the toss. If you win, I get your clothing as due rental for the coin. But what if I lose? Then I'll give you my clothing, in the spirit of this nonsense. But you won't lose. You can control the flip of a coin. All gamesmen can. No, wait, the head-dressed citizen protested. I want a third party to flip it.
I'll flip, Walden said. I'm objective. I'll be happy to see anyone naked, so long as it isn't me.
Styles smiled. It might be worth the loss, for the coin-loaning citizen was especially portly. Very well, I will rent your coin.
This grows ever more curious, Walden remarked. What is this fascination we seem to share for nakedness in the presence of Styles' lovely robot mistress?
Fiancé, Styles said quickly. Now the other citizen smiled.
Maybe we should all strip and ask her opinion.
Sheen turned away, blushing. This was sheer artifice, but it startled the citizens again. They were not used to robots who were this lifelike. By God, one muttered, I'm going to invest in a harem of creatures like her. Style accepted the coin. It was a pretty iridium disc, comfortably solid in his hand, with the head of Tyrannosaurus Rex on one side and the tail of a dinosaur on the reverse. Style appreciated the symbolism. Iridium had been associated with the extinction of the dinosaurs, and of course the whole notion of coinage had become a figurative dinosaur in the contemporary age. Iridium, however, remained a valuable metal, and numismatics was popular among citizens. He passed the coin over to Walden's.
How do we know Walden's can't control the flip, too? Another citizen asked suspiciously.
They were taking this tiny bet as seriously as any other. You can nullify his control by calling the side in midair, Style pointed out. If you figure him to go for heads, you call tails. One flip. Agreed?
Agreed.
The citizen with the headdress seemed increasingly interested. He was obviously highly curious as to what Style was up to. Style was sure the citizen's inherent vanity would cause him to call heads, as a reflection of self-image, so he hoped Walden's would flip at tails. The coin spun brightly in the air, heading for the tiled floor. Heads, the citizen called, as expected. He hardly seemed to care about the outcome of the bet now. He was trying to fathom Styles' longer purpose. The iridium coin bounced on the floor, flipped, rolled, and settled tails. Victory for Style. Style held out his hand for the hat, and the citizen with the coin held out his hand for Styles' clothes. All the rest watched the procedure solemnly. Even Sheen had no idea what Style was up to. Style removed his clothing and stood naked, seeming like a child among adults. He took the hat and donned it, arranging it carefully to conceal his hair and complement the lines of his face. Then, with covered head and bare body, he marched to a hollow unit set in an alcove. It was a small one, capable of head projection only, available for emergency use. Any demand by a citizen was considered emergency. Certus, Style said crisply to the pickup. The device bleeped faintly as it placed the call. He knew the self-willed machines were tapping in, keeping track of him without interfering. The head of a female serf formed in the cubby. Sir, may I inquire your identity and the nature of your call? I am Style, Style said, rippling an aristocratic sneer across his lips. I merely wish to inform your employer that a line maintenance crew is about to operate on his premises. The maintenance is phony, and the crew is other than it appears. There is nothing wrong with that line. I believe Certus should investigate this matter personally. Thank you, sir, the serf said. She faded out.
Now that's something, Walden's exclaimed. You warned him you were coming. Do you have a death wish?
Style removed his hat, but did not seek new clothing. He took the wheeled machine and started down the hall.
Aha! Walden's exclaimed. Of course he would know how to emulate a serf. But Certus won't let a serf intrude either, especially when he's been warned by a citizen that something's afoot.
We shall find out, Style said. You may watch me on the general pickup system to verify whether I succeed. Serfs, come along." He moved on toward the dome entrance. The citizens tuned in on the little hollow unit, crowding around it. Style knew they would follow his every move. That was fine. He wanted them to have no doubt. He led his party to the circle tesseract emblem. Certus's dome adjoined the main public dome closely. An on-ground tunnel about 50 meters long extended between the two. The communication line was buried beneath the floor of this tunnel. 2 male serfs stood guard at the tunnel entrance. They snapped to alertness as Styles' party approached. One barred the way.
"This is private property."
Style halted. "I'm on citizen business," he said. "I'm tracing an important message along the communication line."
"Have you my employer's permission to pass?"
"He knows we're coming," Style said. "I expect him to attend to this personally. Now give me room. I don't have all day." He pushed on by, trundling the machine. Uncertain, the serf gave way. No mere serf braved the premises of a citizen without authorization. This line tracing had to have been cleared, but the other serf was already buzzing his dome.
"Work crew of 4 claims to be on citizen business," he said.
Style walked on, not waiting for the answer. Melon, Sheen, and the machine-tending serf followed. They all knew they could be cut down by a laser at any moment. Citizens had short fuses when it came to serf intrusions, and there was a laser lens covering the length of the tunnel. But Style was gambling that Certus would investigate before firing. Why should an illicit crew intrude so boldly on his premises? Why should there be advance warning? Wasn't it more likely that someone was trying to make mischief for a legitimate work crew? But the maintenance computer would deny that any crew was operating here at this time, so it was phony. It simply didn't add up, unless it was a practical joke. In that case, Certus would want to discover the perpetrator. To do that, he would have to observe the work crew and perhaps interrogate it. It was unlikely that Style himself would be recognized in this short time. The amaranth hat had completely changed his face, and in any event, the last thing anyone would think of was a citizen masquerading as a serf. At least, that was Styles' hope. No laser bolt came. Style reached the end of the tunnel, passed another serf guard who did not challenge him, and traced the buried cable on through the foyer and into a garden park girt with cubistic statuary. The tesseract motif, of course. Citizens could carry their symbolic foibles quite far. In the center of the garden, beside a fountain that formed odd three-dimensional patterns, Style came to the buried cable nexus. He oriented the machine on it. There was a buzz. Then an indicator pointed to the line leading away, and a readout gave the coding designation of the new cable. He had accomplished his mission and won his bet. But when he looked up, there was a citizen, flanked by a troop of armed serfs. This was Certus. Style knew it could be no other.
"Step into my office, Style,"
the man said brusquely. So, the game was up. Style turned the machine over to its regular operator and went with the citizen. He had not actually won his bet until he escaped this dome intact with the machine. Or if he had won the bet but lost his life, what had he gained? Inside the office, with privacy assured, Certus handed Style a robe. Style donned it, together with sandals and a feather hat. His subterfuge had certainly been penetrated.
"Now, what is the story?" Certus inquired. "I think you owe me the truth."
"I'm tracing a 2-month-old message," Style said. "Your personnel would not permit entry to a necessary site."
"Of course not. I'd fire any serf who let unauthorized persons intrude."
"So I had to find a way through. It has nothing to do with you personally. I simply have to trace that message to wherever it originated."
"Why didn't you tell me this by phone? I am not unreasonable when the issue is clear. I might have permitted your mission, for a reasonable fee."
"I happen also to need to increase my fortune." Certus nodded.
"Could this relate to the several citizens who huddle in the serf lavatory, spying on your progress?"
"They gave me 15 to 1 odds on a kilo of protonite that I couldn't make it. I need that sort of advantage."
So, you called me to arouse my curiosity so my serfs wouldn't laser you out of hand.
Also, so as not to deceive you, Style agreed. I do not like deception, outside the framework of an established game. You were not properly part of our game.
So, you inducted me into it. Miscalculation could have resulted in your early demise.
My life has been threatened before. That's one reason I'm tracing this message. I believe its source will offer some hint of the nature of my nemesis. Certus nodded again.
And the citizens were willing to give you better odds because of the factor of danger. Very well. I appreciate cleverness, and I'm as game for a wager as anyone. I will let you go without objection, if you will wager your winnings with me.
But my winnings will be 15 kilos of protonite.
Yes, a substantial sum. I can cover it, and you must risk it. Choose your bet now, or I shall see that you lose your prior bet by not completing your survey. I can legitimately destroy your tracer machine.
You play a formidable game, Style exclaimed. You're forcing me to double or nothing.
Indeed, Certus agreed, smiling. One does not brave the lion's den without encountering challenge.
Style emerged from the dome with his crew and machine, his knees feeling somewhat weak. I have the data, he announced. Waldens glanced at the indicator on the machine.
So you do, and within the time limit. You've won 15, but why are you so shaky?
Certus caught me. He pressured me. The other citizens laughed. Why do you think we bet against you? One said. Certus can buy and sell most of us. We knew you were walking into the lion's den.
How did you wiggle out? Waldens asked.
He required me to bet my winnings with him, Style said, grimacing. That leaves me only 1 kilo uncommitted, until that bet is settled.
What is a bet?
That is private. It is a condition of the wager that I tell no one its nature until it is settled, which should be shortly.
Oh, I like that sort of mystery. Certus must be playing a game with us, to make up for our intrusion into his privacy. Very well, I'll go for your single kilo. Do you have any suitable notions?
Style considered. I don't care to bet on this message tracing anymore. Maybe we can find something disconnected. They were walking toward the next cable junction, guided by the machine coding. It was pointless to trace every meander of the cable itself when this shortcut was available. Style turned a corner and entered a short concourse between major domes. At this moment, there were no other people in it. I know. Let's bet on the sex of the serfs to traverse this passage in the next 10 minutes. That should be a fairly random sampling.
Good enough, Waldens agreed. I'll match your kilo, betting on female.
Now wait, the citizen with the feather hat protested. He had recovered it after Style's use. The rest of us are being cut out. Bet with each other, Style said. I am at my present limit. And Mellon nodded emphatically. There's a little verve in wagers with other citizens. You are the intriguing factor here. Well, I'll be happy to hedge my bet, Style said. I bet Waldens that more males will pass, and you that more females will pass.
No good. That puts Waldens and me against each other, in effect. I want you. I want your last kilo. All right, Walden said. I relinquish my bet with Style. You can have this one.
Hey, I want that bet too, the iridium coin citizen protested, and the others joined in. All right, I'll cover you all, the feather hat said. 1 kilo each. I say more females in 10 minutes from Mark.
Good enough, Waldens agreed. Us, including Style, are betting you that more males will pass. We all win or lose with Style.
Now they waited. For 2 minutes, no one came from either direction. Suppose no one comes, or it's even, Style asked. He was laboring under continuing tension.
Then we extend the time, Walden said. Sudden death. Agreed?
The others agreed. They all wanted a settlement. The particular bets didn't matter, and the details of the bets didn't matter, just as long as they could share the excitement of honest gambling. Then 2 male serfs came, chatting together. Both went silent as they spied the group of citizens in the center of the concourse.
"Proceed at pace,"
Walden said, and the two hastily passed by. A minute later, a third serf came, from the opposite direction. Another male. The feather-hatted citizen frowned. Then the pace picked up. 3 females passed, 2 more males, a female, 3 more males, and another female. At 8 minutes, the score was 8 males, 5 females.
"Must be a male work shift getting out,"
Walden said, satisfied.
"To think I almost bet on the girls."
But in the final minute, there were 2 more males and 6 more females. As the time expired, the score was 10 males, 11 females. The feather-hatted citizen smiled broadly. I skunked you all. 5 kilos. He nodded toward Style. And I beat him. Nobody's done that before. I lost my kilo, Style agreed, wondering if he looked as nervous as he felt. But there's a question I'd like to explore.
"Explore it,"
Walden said.
"We're having fun."
I noticed that the males were ahead until a sudden rush of females at the end. Is the estate of any one of our number near to this concourse?
"Not mine,"
Walden said.
"But you, Bonnet, yours is close, isn't it?"
It is, the feather-hatted Bonnet replied guardedly. And those late female serfs? Would they be, by any chance, employees of yours? Style asked. That doesn't matter, Bonnet said. The wager did not exclude our employees. All serfs are citizen employees.
"Oh-ho,"
Walden said.
"You signaled your dome and loaded the dice."
Only smart participation, Bonnet insisted. There was no bar against it. Walden sighed.
"No, I suppose not. One must never accept something on faith, particularly the constancy of other citizens. I fell for it. I'll take my loss."
The others agreed, though not pleased. They all should have been more careful. Now, Style felt the exhilaration of victory. As it happens, I bet Certus 15 kilos that someone would cheat on this wager. I lost my kilo, but won my 15. Right, Certus? Right, Certus's voice agreed on a hidden speaker. Well and fairly played, Style. Let it be recorded. 15 to you. Walden slapped his knee.
"Beautiful. Bonnet won 5, you won 15. Even in losing, you won. Your fortune is now just over 30 kilograms, Style. You are now a moderately wealthy citizen."
Congratulations, Bonnet said sourly. I believe I have had enough for the day. Somewhat stiffly, he departed.
"And that was worth my own paltry losses," Walden said. "I never liked him much. Still, I suspect he's right. You have been outmaneuvering us nicely, Style. I think I must desist wagering with you, lest I lose my shirt, or all my clothing."
And the others laughed, remembering the episode of nakedness. By common consent, they dispersed, leaving Style alone with his party of serfs. Sir, you have taken extraordinary chances, Mellon said reprovingly. My expertise has been useless. I agree I have pushed my luck, Style said. I think it prudent to turn my winnings over to you for management now. Do you feel you can parlay them into an even larger fortune? A 30-kilogram stake? Sir, with that leverage and your authority to make selective wagers, I believe I can do well enough. Go to it. I'll refrain from further betting until I consult with you. Take it away. Thank you, sir. Your method is unorthodox, but I must confess it has proved effective. Mellon turned and walked away. He will work wonders, sir, Sheen murmured. Unencumbered by the betting citizens, they proceeded rapidly to the next nexus, which was in a public workshop area, and thence to another in a surf park that spread across the curtain. Coincidence? Style inquired skeptically, and Sheen agreed it was probably not. They set the machine, and the readout suggested that the message impulse had been introduced at this nexus. But this was a closed connection. There was no way to insert a message here. It had to have come from the other side of the curtain, Styles said. Somehow, he was not surprised. Much of the other mischief he had experienced had originated in Phase. You have a friend there, Sheen said. You will have to cross and use your magic to trace him down. Yes, only an adept could have managed this. I can't think which one would have done it. Styles sighed. Sheen, I have a night free, and I shall need my rest. Take me home. She took him to the Proton Blue domain, and fed him and washed him in the manner of serf for citizen, not deigning to give the job to the hired staff. She put him in a comfortable bed over a gravity diffusion screen, so that his weight diminished. Weariness closed in on him, now that he had a respite from the tensions of the moment. But before he allowed himself to sleep, he caught her hand and drew her to him. You cried for me again today, he said. And you cried again for me. Someday, somehow. She leaned over and kissed him, and it was as sweet as any kiss could be. In that pleasure, he fell asleep. He dreamed that he loved her in the off moments as well as at the stress points, but woke to know that this was only a wish, not truth. He could not do more than marry her. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Chapter 8. So Styles been a citizen like a week, and he has, 30 times the fortune that he started with? He's got to be up to 30 kilograms at this point, which is just insane. Yes, Joy in general, he gets to play with the big boys now. Or actually let Melon do his job and say, here's 30 kilograms of protonite. Go do things with it while I go do other things. But, I mean, how risky was what he was doing on most of this stuff. But hey, Style is nothing if not consistent in his play to win and doing it as ethically as he can. So it's good stuff. We're very proud of him. All right, guys, that means now it is time for us to... Let me fix something first if I can, because I realized I don't think I put my recording to go to the right output, or did I? I did not. It's still going to the wrong folder. Give me a second, fix where my recording is going, select this folder. There we go. It is now going to my folder for Juxtaposition rather than my folder for Blue Adept. Just the little things I deal with on my side to bring you guys the quality recordings that you can watch and listen to at your leisure later on. And hey, I should also mention this. For those who think I read too slowly, which I think I do a pretty good job of it here, but my daughter watches everything on YouTube and TikTok and everything at like 2 times speed. I don't know how she keeps up with it, but hey, she does. If you're looking for that, my recordings will do that for you. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button while you're up there. Remember, tell your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, the people that you pass on the street, the random people. Help me to continue to grow the channel, would you? Have them, listen, watch, click that subscribe button for me. Yay, spell for chameleon. Hey, I appreciate the continued support. I mean, having somebody here consistently with me to know that I am not just reading to myself is nice. Now, don't get me wrong. I would still read to myself, but it is nice to have somebody here with me. So I appreciate it and your continued support of the other things that I have here. As a reminder, after I get done with this one, I do have 2 other books that are coming up. Murder at Maplewood Manor. And I don't remember the name of the second one. I'll have to find it. That will be coming up after this one. They are debut novels for authors that we will read and record. So if you know anybody who is an author who is looking to have their stuff read, reach out to me and let me know. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and dive in to the next one. Good vibes. Good vibes. We like good vibes. Here we go. Chapter 9. Source. Style crossed the curtain in the morning at the site of the last junction. There was nothing special in phase at this place. It was only the slope of a lightly forested hill. Whatever had fed the message in was gone. There were not even footprints after 2 months. He was the blue adept with potent magic. How could he apply it to follow this long, cold trail? Wouldn't an adept have counterspelled the trail to prevent such a tracing? One way to find out. Style played his harmonica, summoning his power, while he worked out a spell. Then he sang, "Make an arrow, point the way, that the message came that day." The arrow formed, an illuminated spot like that made by a light projection. But it rotated uncertainly, like a compass without its magnetism. Sure enough, a counterspell was interfering. There would be no simple one-step answer. However, his power at this spot, now, would be greater than that of a months-gone adept. He should be able to trace the source, if he followed the trail in person as he had in Proton. "Give me a signal, hot or cold, to make current what is old," he sang, shaping the detail in his mind. Now Styles' left side felt warmer than his right. He turned, and the warmth was on his face. He strode forward, and the effect faded. He backed up until he felt the heat again. It had fallen away to his right. He got back on the trail, pursuing it more carefully, and it led him in a spaghetti-like wriggle that coiled about and recrossed itself frequently. Obviously, the other party had anticipated this approach also, and had left a tortuous path. It might take Style a long time to unravel every wriggle, and that trail could lead into traps. He decided to let it go for now. He wanted to rejoin the unicorns and the Lady Blue in plenty of time for the quest for Clip and vengeance. This message had waited 2 months. It would wait another day. He used a prepared spell to transport himself to the herd, and stood for a moment in discomfort as he arrived. He certainly did not enjoy performing this kind of magic on himself, but he really had no alternative at the moment. Nasa spied him first and trotted over. She would always be his steed and his friend in spirit. Yet now she did not prance, for the pall of her brother's fate hung over her. She changed to girl form and made one of her rare speeches. "The stallion has news of Clip." "What kind?" Style asked tightly. "He is alive." She shifted back to mare form. Style vaulted to her back, and she trotted him over to the herd. He embraced the Lady Blue briefly. The herd stallion awaited him in man form.
"Under the White Mountains, prisoner of the goblins, we must strike by tonight. Tonight, ere they suspect."
"Yes," Style agreed. "Thou and I alone, surgically."
"They will be alert for adept magic, and will kill Clip the moment they detect it. Thou canst not employ thy power until he is safe."
"How am I to save him, then?" Style asked, frustrated. "I will save him." Or,
"I will save him. Then thou canst get us all out of danger."
Style was uncertain about this procedure, but had to agree. There was no use going on a rescue mission if his mere presence precipitated Clip's murder.
"We start now,"
the stallion said.
"It will be night ere we reach the mountains. I know an entrance to the goblin domain, but once underground, I will know the way no better than thou."
Style had an idea. "Suppose I make a spell to show the way. Will that continuing magic alert the goblins?" The stallion considered.
"I know not, but think not. It is new magic that makes alarm. There are many ancient spells in the background, ignored."
I'd better risk it, Styles said. He considered a moment, then played his harmonica and sang, A Star Institute to illumine our route. A pinpoint glow appeared to their north, shedding faint light on the ground.
But the goblins will see it too,
the stallion protested. See what? The Lady Blue asked. The stallion smiled.
Others see it not.
Others see it not, Style agreed. I am not quite as foolish as I look.
Not quite,
the stallion agreed, and shifted back to his natural form, pawing the ground. Style took the hint and leaped to his back. This was much more of a challenge than it had been with Nasa, for the herd stallion stood 4 hands higher than she and massed twice as much. He was a lot of animal. Had they not had a clear understanding, Styles' touch on his back would have precipitated an instant death struggle. It was a sign of the passions involved and the seriousness of the situation that the untamable stallion submitted to this indignity. Immediately, they were off. Style, the most skilled rider in this frame, suddenly had to hang on, lest he be dumped like a novice. Evidently, some spirit of rivalry remained. The stallion wanted him to know that he kept his perch only by sufferance. Style had never been on a steed like this before. The stallion was the mass of a huge workhorse, but had the velocity of a racer. Style had originally tamed Nasa by riding her against her will. He knew he could never have done it with this steed. The scenery raced by. Wind tore at Styles' clothing. The stallion's hooves pounded on the double drumbeat of a full gallop, and sparks flew up where the hard hooves struck, but the ride was smooth. The stallion was not wasting energy in extra up and down motion. He was sailing straight ahead. The pinpoint star remained fixed at about head height, its spot of light brightening to a patch of ground. It slid to one side sometimes, guiding them around obstructions and bad footing, so that the stallion never had to slow to scout the way. He was able to maintain cruising speed, faster than that of any horse, and he seemed tireless. As he warmed up, jets of flame blasted from his nostrils. This was the way that unicorns cooled themselves, since they did not sweat. The heat was dissipated from their breath and hooves. After a time, the ride became routine, then dull. Style had nothing to do, since the stallion knew the way even without the help of the little star. Style could have slept, but was too keyed up. He wanted to rescue and restore Clip. He could do it, he was sure. His magic could cement the severed horn and heal the scars of its cutting. The only problem was getting to the unicorn without triggering the murder, and getting them all out thereafter. Meanwhile, he just had to wait. I've been thinking, he remarked. Art thou amenable to conversation? The stallion blew an affirmative accordion note. He, too, was bored by this stretch. Thou art a powerful creature, Style said. Surely the goblins will recognize thee as readily as me. I can be taken for an elf, but thou canst only be a unicorn, even in man form. The snub horn gives thee away. The stallion blew another note of agreement. Stallions could change form, but retained vestigial horns in all forms. This was because the horn was the seat of the unicorn's magic. Without it, the creature was no more than a horse, unable to play music or change form. If an alternate form lacked the horn, the unicorn would not be able to change back to equine form. This was plainly unacceptable. The human form was not one any self-respecting unicorn would care to be stuck in for long. Thy dragon form is no better than thy man form for concealment, Style continued. True, it could penetrate the goblin domain, but would create great alarm, for no one ignores a dragon. When thou didst approach Clip, the little monsters would surely realize thy nature and intent. The unicorn noted with a thoughtful chord. The thing is, thou art in all thy forms a mighty creature. Now this is no bad thing, and ordinarily is altogether proper. The phrasing of a suggestion was sometimes more important than the suggestion itself, particularly when addressed to a creature of pride. But this time, I wish thou didst possess an insignificant form, like Nesa's firefly, that I could carry in unobserved. The unicorn ran on, considering. After a time, he blew a new note. Could. The notes were not really words, but pitch and inflection conveyed definite meaning, and Style could usually interpret them when he put his mind to it. Thou hast a fourth form? He asked, surprised. I thought 3 was the limit, and only 1 or 2 for some. Now came a proud blast. This was no ordinary unicorn. The stallion could master a 4th form if he chose. That's great, Style exclaimed. Couldst thou work it up in time for tonight? I know it takes a considerable act of discipline to implement a new form, and there is so little time. The stallion was not foolishly optimistic. Any form was a challenge the first time, and a 4th one was special, but he thought he could manage it. They discussed it as the miles and leagues rushed by. It developed that some forms were easier than others. Difficulty varied according to the necessary specialization and the change of size. Thus, a unicorn could convert to a massive bear fairly readily, because the size was about the same. A man form was harder, because the mass was less, and because of the necessary specialization of the hands and voice. A man form that could not tie a knot in string would not be very good, and one who could not talk would be worse. These things had to be done properly, or were not worth doing at all. Nesa's firefly form was a greater achievement than Clip's hawk form, because a fly was only a fraction of the mass. Nesa weighed about 850 pounds in her natural form, about 85 in her girl form, and less than 85 hundredths of an ounce in firefly form. It would be more than twice as hard for the herd stallion to get down to that size. But such size would be beyond suspicion, Style remarked. No one would believe that a beast as noble as thou couldst hide in a form so small. That accented the magnitude of the challenge, rather than the insignificance of the form. Then there was the problem of flying, the unicorn explained in concerned tones. Flying was a specialization that had to be mastered by tedious practice, after the physical form had been achieved. The stallion had learned it for his dragon form, but would have to start all over for an insect form, since insects employed a different mode of flight. That could take days. Oh, I did not mean thou must fly, Style said. It is the insignificance I am after, that none may suspect thee. Thou couldst go from dragon to roach for that. Roach? The stallion blasted, affronted. Never! But Style was struck by something else. Dragon. Roach. His poem, the one he had used to win the tourney in Proton, had this provided him with a prophetic key? Now he thought back, discovering parallels. He had referred to Gabriel's horn, but there was also the unicorn's horn. Clip's horn had precipitated this venture. He had also referred to trying to cheat fate, but he had won his biggest bet because of cheating by another citizen. How far did this go? How far indeed? The first 4 lines of that poem had matched his recent experience, deliberately. Then the keyword silence, and he had been struck by the silence spell. Then love, and he had become betrothed to Sheen. That was not love precisely, but related. She certainly wanted and deserved love. In fact, those key words aligned beautifully with his experience, almost like a prediction of the oracle. Yet the words had become the random product of the game computer. No magic there. So it must be coincidence. It was possible to make seeming sense of almost anything, as those 2 poems had shown. Still, why not? Style decided to go for it. That is one form no goblin would suspect. The nether passages must be overrun with roaches. What herd stallion would go to the enormous effort to achieve so lowly a form? It is beneath consideration, therefore, the safest of all forms for the accomplishment of such a hazardous mission. The stallion blew, heeding the logic, but not the aesthetics. Actually, some roaches are quite elegant, Style commented innocently. When I was a servant Proton, I had to deliver a horse to the dome of a citizen who specialized in exotic creatures. He had a roach farm with some quite beautiful specimens. I remember some deep red ones, huge and sleek, surely the royalty of roaches, and others were frilly, like butterflies, only without wings.
Enough!
The unicorn snorted. He veered to a tight copse of trees and slowed. When he stopped inside, Style was glad to dismount. They had been traveling for hours, and he was cramped and hungry and suffered the urgent call of nature. There was a convenient nut tree in the copse. Unicorns generally had good taste about such things, so Style could eat without using magic. There was also a small spring. This was really an oasis, probably known to every wild creature. There was a real advantage of traveling with such an animal. Not only protection, but also the convenience of familiarity with the terrain. Style had now traveled with 3 unicorns, Nasa, Clip, and the herd stallion, and this aspect was the same with each one. Style had always liked horses. He knew he would always like unicorns better. He had dreamed for more than 15 years of becoming a citizen of Proton, perhaps setting up his own racing stable. Now he was a citizen, and all he really wanted was to stay here in Phase, on any basis. He liked magic, not merely his ability to perform it, but more importantly, the very framework in which magic existed. He liked the verdant hills, the little streams, the various features of this irregular landscape. He liked the whole sweet outdoors, with its fresh air and unpredictable weather and feeling of freedom. Oh, there were horrors here, but even so, it was a better world than Proton. 3 centuries of unrestricted development and narrow exploitation had destroyed the environment of Proton, so that comfort now existed only within the force field domes. Style liked civilization, but after encountering Phase, he feared it was at too great a price. Style became aware of a warm sensation on the left side of his face. Oh, yes, his spell to trace the sender of the message that had brought him Sheen was still in operation. Old spells never died, and faded away only slowly. Which inertia was fortunate, since any given spell was effective only once. The warmth was faint, indicating that he was far from the source, but at least he could trace it down still. He would do so the moment Clip was safe. He heard a musical groan, as of someone stepping on an accordion. The stallion writhed, shimmered, and shrank to a gross, many-legged lump of flesh. A spell leaped to Style's lips, but he choked it back, realizing that this was not a magic attack. It was the stallion's effort to master a new form. Style ambled over, peering down at the grotesque caricature of a roach. Now that is the ugliest insect I've ever seen, he remarked. But certainly the biggest. Indeed, it was almost the size of a man. The monstrous bug waved its feelers, thrashed its legs about, and blew a furious peep from the miniature horn on its snout. Then it swelled rapidly into stallion form again, snorting fire from the effort. "Oh, it's thou!" Style exclaimed innocently. "I was about to step on it." The stallion glared and gave a snort that singed the hairs on Style's arms. Then he tried again. This time he got the size right, but not the shape. He became a miniature unicorn. "I'm afraid that won't do," Style said around a mouthful of nuts. "The goblins know that's not a normal corn size." The stallion reformed, pawing the ground. Obviously, he was putting forth terrific effort. His hooves were beginning to glow red, and wisps of smoke rose from his ears. A third time he tried. This time he got it right. Normal-sized roach with a silvery body and golden head. The bug took one step and exploded back into the stallion. He just had not been able to hold it for more than 2 seconds. Maybe you'd better let it rest for a while, Styles suggested. Give your system time to acclimatize to the notion. We're not at the goblin demesne yet. The stallion played an affirmative chord. Style conjured 10 pounds of fine oats for the equine repast, then stood abashed. He should not have used his magic here. But it seemed no one had been paying attention. Maybe that was not the kind of spell the enemy was looking for. In due course he remounted, and they were off again. The strength of this unicorn was amazing. Having run for hours and struggled to master a difficult new form, he was, after this brief respite, galloping at unreduced speed. Nasa and Clip were good unicorns, but neither could have maintained this velocity so long. By nightfall, the grim white mountains were near. The stallion had been moving toward them at a slant, northwest, circling the domain of the ogres. No need for any ogre trouble this trip. Actually, Style had settled with the ogres, establishing that he was not their enemy. But ogres were not too bright, and there could still be trouble. Now the sun was dropping below the horizon. The stallion galloped along west, parallel to the mountain range, then stopped. Style saw the guiding star to their north, showing them to the entrance to the goblins' somber netherworld. But the region was guarded. Goblins patrolled the cliff-like fringe of the mountain range. How could they get in? Style had the answer to that. He was larger than a goblin, but close enough so that some stooping in the dark should enable him to pass. He scraped up handfuls of dirt and rubbed it over his face and arms, then removed his clothing and coated his bare body too. Goblins wore little clothing. Styles' proton underpants sufficed for a costume. Goblin feet and hands, however, were far larger than his own, while their limbs were shorter. Style experimented and finally fashioned a framework for each foot from small branches and dirt, making his extremities seem goblin-sized. He did the same for his head. Magic would have been much easier for disguising himself, either physically or by means of illusion. But he did not dare use that here. He was facile with his hands and knew how to improvise. His head was actually expanded by a gross turban fashioned from his former clothing.
Grotesque,
the herd stallion said, eyeing Style in man form.
The human shape is ugly enough to begin with, but thou hast improved on it.
Just do thine own shape change, Style said, and keep it stable.
I can but try,
the stallion said grimly. He shifted back to corn form, gathered himself, and phased down to bug form. This roach was not handsome, but it did seem to be stable. Style watched it take a step, moving all its legs on one side, followed by those on the other side. The thing trembled and started to expand, then got hold of itself and squeezed back into bug shape. It seemed it would hold. Style put down his open hand. The roach hesitated, then crawled on, moving clumsily. It evidently took special coordination to handle 6 legs, and it was hard for the stallion to do this while hanging on to this awkward little size. Perhaps it was like juggling 6 balls in the air while walking a tightrope. As it happened, Style had done such tricks in the past, but it had taken him time to master them. Just don't lose control and convert to equine form on my head, Style murmured as he set the roach on the framework he had wound there. Don't drop anything either. The roach, catching the reference to droppings, began to shake with laughter. It expanded to triple roach size, emitted several little sparks, wrestled with itself, and recovered control. Style decided not to make any more jokes. The darkness was almost complete now. Style nerved himself and walked forward, following the flash of light projected on the ground by his little guiding star. He hunched down as well as he could, making himself humpbacked and shorter. Style was an experienced mimic, and this was another game talent that had served him in good stead now. He walked like a goblin, swung his arms like a goblin, and glared about like a goblin. Almost, he began to hate the world the way a goblin would. The dark hole of the cave entrance loomed close. Styles shuffled boldly toward it, but a goblin guard challenged him.
"Where the hell art thou going, Dirtface?"
For an instant, Styles' heart paused, but he had to assume that goblins normally insulted each other, and that the guard did not realize that Styles' face really was concealed by dirt.
"What the hell business is it of thine, stink rump?"
he demanded in the grating tone of a goblin, and pushed on. He felt the stallion roach quaking with suppressed mirth again, enjoying the exchange. Apparently, it had been the right answer. The guard did not stop him. Style followed his little star into the cave. Goblins were coming and going, but none of these challenged him. Style walked downward, through narrow apertures, along the faces of subterranean cliffs, and across dark chasm cracks. The star made it easy, unerringly guiding him through the labyrinth. What might have taken him hours to figure out only took minutes. He wondered passingly how this worked. More than mere energy was involved when magic provided him with specialized information. Amazingly soon, he came to a deep nether passage barred by solid stalactite columns. The star moved on to illuminate what was beyond. It was a horse. No, not a horse, a dehorned unicorn, so grimed that his natural color hardly showed, standing with head hanging, bedraggled, evidently lacking the will to live, but unable to die. Clip. Style heard a tiny accordion note snort near his ear. The roach was seething. No unicorn should be treated like this. Half a dozen armed goblins guarded the unicorn. 4 were leaning against the wall. 1 was drinking a swig of something foul, and the 6th was entertaining himself by pricking Clip with the point of his spear. The forlorn unicorn hardly even winced. He seemed beyond the point of resistance, and did not make a good subject for teasing. Blood streaked his once glossy blue coat from prior cuts, and his mane was limp and tangled. Flies swarmed, yet his tail hardly twitched to flick them off. Style heard the roach on his head breathing hard, with accordion cord wheezes. The herd stallion suffered no one to treat a member of his herd this way, and was in danger of exploding again. "Nay, stallion," Style whispered, "thou must hold form until thou dost get inside. Neither I nor any of thine other forms can pass these bars mechanically. They are too strong and tight. Go inside, warn Clip, then take action against the guards before they strike." The stallion blew a low note of agreement. Style put his hand to his head, and the roach climbed on it. Style set the roach on the floor in the corner near the bars.
"Hey, who art thou, rockhead?"
a goblin guard cried. Uh-oh. He had to distract attention from the roach, lest a goblin spot it and idly step on it. The herd stallion was vulnerable in that form, and could not shift quickly enough to counter an abruptly descending foot.
"I just want to see the creep," Style said. "I heard you got a horse head in here without a horn." "That's none of thy business," the goblin snapped. "No unauthorized idiots allowed. That specifically means thee."
The roach was now crawling uncertainly along the wall. Obviously, it wasn't used to clinging to vertical surfaces, but didn't want to get stepped on. Progress was slow, so Style had to stall longer.
"Oh, I do have business here, muck snoot,"
Style said, and of course that was the truth.
"I've come to take the corn away." "Our crazy, man-face. We have orders to kill this brute as soon as our armies finish massing and the enemy Adept be trapped. He's not going anywhere."
So they weren't going to let Clip live, regardless of Style's response. And they expected to trap Style himself. This was a straight kidnap hostage murder plot. No honor among goblins. The roach, overhearing the dastardly scheme, lost its footing and fell to the floor with a loud-seeming click and whoosh of accordion breath. Style was afraid it would attract attention. It lay on its back, 6 legs waving, trying to recover its footing. Oh no.
"Thou art not up on the latest, foul foot," Style said sneeringly. "You guards will be executed before the hostages."
This, too, he intended literally. His certainty daunted the goblin. Apparently, such betrayals did happen in the nether regions.
"Ah, what you know about it, gnarl toes?"
the goblin blustered. The roach had finally straggled to right side up position with tiny musical grunts. Any goblin who paid attention would immediately catch on that this was no ordinary vermin. Style had to keep talking.
"I know a lot about it, Mandrake Nose. That corn's a steed of an adept, isn't it?" "Sure, smarty, and that's why he ain't dead yet. To keep that adept off our backs till he's out of the picture. We got adepts of our own. Now, they don't like to tangle with each other, so we're keeping this one clear this way. The fool likes animals." "We're just doing our job here. No reason to wipe us out."
He looked at Style uncertainly.
"Is there?"
The roach had finally reached Clip. Style relaxed. Just a few more seconds, and it would be all right.
"How about what that other adept thinks? Once he knows thy part, he'll come for thee. And what other adept would breathe a spell to help thee?"
But as he spoke, Style saw Clip lift a forefoot, eyeing the roach. He was about to crush it, not realizing its identity. "Clip, no!" Style called. Then things happened one on top of another. All 6 goblin guards whirled, scrambled, and looked up, depending on their starting positions, to orient on the hornless unicorn. The magic roach let out a cord and scuttled away from Clip's poised hoof. Clip's head jerked about, his ears rotating to cover Style.
"It's a trick!" the goblin nearest Style cried. "This creep's been bugging me about the hostage. Kill him!"
It wasn't clear whether he referred to Clip or to Style. It hardly mattered. The alarm had been sounded. 2 goblins thrust their spears at Clip. One stomped at the roach. The one nearest Style poked his spear through the bars to skewer Style. The remaining 2 set up a scream for help. Clip, suddenly animated, swinging his horn about to skewer a goblin. But he had no horn, only the truncated stump. The goblin was merely brushed aside by Clip's nose and struck out with a horny fist. The roach skittered out of the way and began to expand like a demon amulet that had been invoked. Style dodged the spear. In moments, the herd stallion stood within the prison chamber, stomping his hooves, snorting fire. His horn was not truncated. It blurred as it lunged at one goblin, then at a second and a third, before any could flee. 3 goblins were lifted into the air, skewered simultaneously on that terrible spike. Clip charged the goblin who was poking at Style, crushing the creature's head with a blow of a forehoof. But the 2 others were running down the far passage, too narrow for the unicorns to follow, crying the alarm. Style ready to spell, but paused. So far, he had not used magic, and now that he knew that there was an enemy adept involved here, he did not want to give himself away 1 second sooner than necessary. The goblins did not know it was a blue adept who was in their midst, so the other adept might not know either, until Style gave himself away by using magic. But now there were 2 unicorns in the prison, and the main goblin mass was stirring in the bowels of the mountain. The stallion could use his roach form to escape, but Clip could not change form without his horn. Style could change Clip's form for him, but that meant magic of adept signature. Style could also melt the bars away with magic, if they were not the magic resistive type. That must have been how Clip was brought here. The enemy adept had spelled him through. If he had to use magic, he might as well tackle the most important thing first. How he wished discovery had been delayed a little longer. "Clip, here to me," he called, bringing out the thing he carried like a spear. It was Clip's severed horn. The unicorn stared, almost unbelieving. No doubt he had thought the horn destroyed. My power can restore it, Style said, holding the horn out, base first. Clip came and put his head near the bars. Style reached through, setting the horn against the stump. Restore the horn of this unicorn, he sang, willing the tissue to merge, the thing to take life again. It was hard, for he had not intensified his power by playing the harmonica, and the horn was magic. It resisted Style's magic, and he knew the two parts were not mending properly. He was grafting on a dead horn. Meanwhile, a phalanx of goblins appeared in the passage behind Style, bristling with spears. Style saw them from the corner of his eye, but could not release his hands from the horn, lest a slow healing be interrupted. Clip could not move either, for he was on the other side of the bars waiting for that healing. But the herd stallion was free. He launched himself at the bars. No! Style cried in alarm, knowing the stone was too strong for the animal to break. But the stallion shifted in midair to roach form, sailed between columns, and shifted on Style's side to dragon form. The dragon spread his wings, banked about, and fired forth a horizontal column of flame that seared the oncoming goblins. The stench of burnt flesh wafted back. Style felt sorry for the goblins, then remembered how they had treated Clip, and stilled his sympathy. The creatures of the frame of Fays conducted their business violently, and goblins were among the worst. Style continued to concentrate on the healing, letting the stallion guard him, and slowly the two parts of Clip's horn melded together. Style felt the living warmth creep along the length of it, animating it. Soon all would be well. A horde of goblins poured in from the far side of the prison. Stallion! Style cried, and the herd stallion turned about, charged the bars, shifted into and out of roach form, and appeared on the other side in dragon form again. Another burst of flame seared out, cooking more flesh. But greater trouble was gathering. Style could feel the rumble of the march of many feet as hundreds or thousands of goblins closed in, traveling in unseen neighboring passages. He knew he had alerted the enemy Adept, for he had performed Adept magic. That would further complicate the situation. Still, he held on to the horn, waiting for the final inch to be restored to life so that Clip's full capacity would return. He would settle for nothing less. There was a puff of fog. The white Adept stood beside Style. Her hair was white, matching her eyebrows, and a sparkling white gown bedecked her somewhat stout form. So, it is thee, Blue, as we suspected, she said, her voice and gaze cold as ice. Thou didst take the bait. I took it, Style said grimly. He was not really surprised. His relations with the White Adept had always been chill. But why was she involved with the goblins? I got tired of getting ambushed by the likes of thee. Would she tell him anything before making her move? If she started a spell diagram before he was finished with Clip's horn, he would be in trouble. He would have to defend himself, for without him, the unicorns could not escape. But White could have generated a spell that acted at a distance instead of facing him directly. Maybe she wanted to talk. The herd stallion turned from his endeavors, leaving a pile of scorched goblins rolled up like dehydrated bugs, and saw the witch. He braced for renewed action. Caution, Style called. She's Adept. The mighty animal stood still. He knew better than to attack an Adept in a situation like this. He also knew that Style was not finished with Clip. For the moment, it was an impasse. I cannot attack thee directly, Blue, the White Adept said, and thou canst not attack me. Yet can our minions make mischief? Agreed, Style said. But why has mischief been made? I sought none. Abate thine owness for the moment and hear me out, she said. Blue, I would reason with thee. In Style's experience, those who claimed to want to reason with others were apt to have cases that were less than secure. Still, it was better to talk than to fight. Now at last Clip's horn had healed. Style let go and the unicorn backed away, blowing an experimental saxophone note. It was off-key, but strong. His coat seemed to be brightening under the grime. He had been restored to the joy of life. The White Adept had known what Style was doing, and had not interfered. She had to be serious about her subject, and Style seriously wanted to know what this was all about. "Give thy word that there will be no attack by Adept or Goblin without fair warning," he said. "No treachery."
"I give it, Blue."
There was a faint ripple in the air about her. He had to accept that. Truth animated the very atmosphere and substance of Fays. Adepts did not get along well with each other, but they honored the deals they made. "Then I will hear thy reason."
"Thou knowest that the end of Fays draws nigh," she said. "The purple mountains have shaken. The foreordained is on the scene. The little folk mass as for war, and portents abound."
"Aye," he agreed. "They tell me I am involved. Yet all I sought was to honeymoon with my wife. Someone set traps for me, and one trap setter resembled thee."
"Merely to warn thee off," she said. "Thou art adept, and perhaps the strongest of us all. Thou hast suffered much, yet thou shouldst be the leader in our effort, instead of opposing it."
"What effort?" Style's interest intensified.
"To save Fays."
"Of course I want to save Fays. I love this land. I want to live and die here."
"But not, methinks, before thy time."
Style smiled grimly. "I wish not to die here among goblins, true, but I sought no quarrel with goblins. Thou didst kidnap my steed and abused him, and forced this quarrel on me."
"Aye, unable to strike effectively at thee or at thy lady, or to warn thee off, we finally had to take thy steed. It is not a thing I like. Now thou canst have thy freedom with our apologies, and thine animals with thee, and leadership in the present order, if thou wilt but accept it."
"Why should I not accept it?" Style asked, not rhetorically.
"Because thou art prophesied to be the leader of the forces of the destruction of this order. The foreordained is only part of it. Thou art the other part."
"Obviously, there's a loophole," Style said. "Aside from the fact that I have no intention of harming Fays, thou wouldst not be pressuring me if thou didst believe my destiny was fixed."
"There is a loophole. A dead man cannot lead."
Style laughed ironically. "Kill me? My fate will survive thine effort, if it be truly set."
"Aye, fate has indeed charmed thee, unlike thine other self. But we are not assured thou canst not be killed, only that if thou dost remain alive in Fays, thou wilt destroy it. The charms that preserved thee so cleverly before are passing. Thou hast already conceived thy son on the Lady Blue."
"I have?" Style asked, surprised.
"Which is why she joins thy former steed, and accepts the protection of the animal herd. So fate no longer preserves thee for that. It preserves her. Still, her feeling for thee is such that she might not survive thy demise, so thou art indirectly protected yet. I warned the others of that, but they heeded me not. They thought they could vanquish thee before thou didst reach the West Pole."
"They?"
"The other adepts. We are all patriots in the end, Blue. We all must needs try to save our land."
She seemed sincere. "All the other adepts are against me?" he asked incredulously.
"All except Brown. The child wavers. She likes thy steed."
Style remembered how Nasa had given the little girl a ride. It seemed that kindness had paid a dividend. What of Yellow? Style had had differences with the Yellow Adept, but recently had gotten along with her tolerably well. He could not believe she was his enemy.
Dost thou want it from her own mouth?
Aye.
Then let me bring her here.
White made a diagram on the floor and tapped it 3 times. A puff of smoke formed and dissipated, and there stood the Yellow Adept in her natural hag form.
Oh no! Yellow exclaimed. Let me just get changed for the occasion, my handsome bantam.
She brought out a vial, tipped it to her lips, swallowed, and changed to a young, ravishingly pretty creature. White tells me that thou and the other adepts think I will destroy Phase, so are against me, Yellow. Style said. Can this be true? Yellow made a devastatingly cute moo. It is close enough, Blue, she said. I am not thine enemy, and will not oppose thee, but neither can I join thee, for that thou art indeed destined to wreak much mischief and overthrow the natural order. How is it I know nothing of this? Style demanded. The instruments of great events seldom know their destinies, Yellow said. This prevents paradox, which can be an awkward complication and a downright nuisance. Nuisance, hell! I was attempting to have my honeymoon. Why should this represent a threat to anyone? Thou didst bring the foreordained, and then thou didst travel to the West Pole. These were elements of the prophecy. So the other adepts decided to stop me from getting there, Style said, grimacing, setting neat little magical traps. Some did. Green chose to stand aloof, as I did, disliking this. Sure enough, thou didst get there. Now the onrush of events is upon us, and if we do not get thee away from Phase promptly, we are all doomed. So you propose to remove me by killing me? Nay, we know that would not work, Yellow said. At least White and Green and I suspected it would not. Black and Orange and Translucent did not participate in the proceedings, but Brown opposed them. We had to suppress her, lest she warn thee. So, it now developed that the other adepts were anything but unanimous. Most were at best neutral. That explained why they had not simply massed their magic against him. Styles' expression turned hard. Suppressed Brown? What dost thou mean by that?
A stasis spell, White said quickly. No harm was done her. It is hard indeed to do direct harm to an adept. The spell is likely to bounce and strike down the speller, but slantwise action can be taken, as with the silence and confinement for thee.
You froze the child in place? Style demanded. Our truce is just about to come to an unkind end.
She would have blabbed to thee,
White repeated. Now I am blabbing to thee. Release her. White's expression hardened, as was typical of those whose reason was only a front. Yellow quickly interceded. Provoke him not unnecessarily, White. He has power and friends we hardly know. We need hold Brown no longer. I shall go free her. She brought out another vial, sipped the potion, and vanished.
Methinks thou hast won the heart of more than Brown,
White grumbled. She viewed him critically, noting the mud caking his body and the awkward turban, loincloth, and shoe structures.
It must be thy magic, rather than thy demeanor.
Style relaxed, marginally. Ugly things were happening, and he knew it wasn't over. So far, there had been attacks against him, the Lady Blue, Clip, and the Brown Adept. An organization of adepts had formed against him. He needed to know the rest of it. Let's have it, White. Exactly what is the threat to Faze, and what dost thou want of me? For he knew her suggestion about giving him a place of leadership was wrong. How could he lead if his presence meant the end?
We want thee to leave Faze voluntarily, so that the dangers of adept confrontations are abated. Thou canst take Lady Blue and aught else thou wishest, cross the curtain, embark on a proton spaceship, and depart for the farthermost corner of the universe as that frame knows it, never to return.
Style had no intention of doing that. Apart from the complication of the Lady Blue's official non-existence in the other frame, where the records computer took such things more seriously than people did in Faze, there was a matter of the robot Sheen. How could he marry her with his other wife in Proton? And how could he leave his friends, the unicorns and werewolves and vampires? Faze was the world of his dreams and nightmares. He could never leave it. Nay.
The applicable portion of the prophecy is this: Faze will never be restored till the blue adept is forever gone. Thou canst not remain.
I have had some experience with misinterpreted predictions, Style said. Restoration of Faze after my departure is hardly synonymous with my destruction of it, which I maintain is no intent of mine. Thou hast answered only a fraction of my question, and deviously at that.
I am getting to it, Blue. The goblins guard an apparatus from the other frame, protecting it from all threats. The end of Faze will come when that device is returned. The goblins guard it blindly from harm. We would prefer to destroy it.
So, the collusion of adepts with goblins is rife with internal stress, Style observed. Doubtless the goblins know not of this aspect.
Doubtless they suspect, however,
White said. Surely the massed power of the adepts can prevail against mere goblins, Style said, pushing at her verbally. Any one of us could enchant the entire species of goblins into drifting smoke.
Thou might, Blue. Few others could. But this device is a special case and cannot be attacked directly.
Anything can be attacked, Style said. Some things with less success than others, though, as seems to be the case when adepts attack adepts.
Nay, this device is what is called in the other frame a computer.
A computer can't operate in Faze. No scientific device can. Except, he remembered, near the West Pole.
This one has a line running to the West Pole.
Parallel thoughts. Maybe, if we could figure out how to use magic in its circuits.
Aye, it functions partially and has many thoughts. Some concern thee, which is why we did not wish thee to make connection with it at the pole.
How canst thou know this if the goblins let thee not near it? In fact, why do the goblins allow adepts in their domain? Seeing the likes of thee would destroy what they endeavor to guard from harm.
The goblin folk are not unduly smart, she said with a fleeting smile, but smart enough to keep adepts away from the device. They cooperate with us to some extent because they know that we oppose thee, and thou art one who will take the contraption from them and return it to Proton Frame, where it seems it will wreak all manner of mischief on both frames. So it is an uneasy alliance, but it will do. All of us, adept and goblin alike, wish to save Faze.
And I wish to destroy Faze, Style said. Or so you other adepts choose to believe. Because of some fouled-up prophecy. No matter that I love Faze, you believe that not.
Nay, Blue,
This one is not distorted. Thou wilt return the thing to Proton, and thereby destroy phase, and only thy departure can alleviate that.
Style was annoyed by this insistence. There had to be some flaw in the logic. How dost thou know the prophecy is true?
The computer itself made it.
And what relevance can the guess of an other frame contraption have? Thou dost credit it with the accuracy of the oracle. She nodded, and Styles' mouth dropped open. Oh no, he exclaimed.
It is so, she affirmed. The computer is the oracle. That is how it defends itself from the likes of us. Any thrust we can conceive against it, it anticipates and foils. Its means are devious, but effective. We dare not attack it directly.
Now let me back up, Styles said. Thou didst offer me peace and fortune in phase, then told me I have to get out of phase forever or be killed, so that I won't destroy it. Surely thou perceivest the contradiction. Where is the lie?
Nay, Blue, she said. We adepts differ some amongst ourselves about our manner of dealing with thee, so there may be seeming contradictions. It is a fair offer, if thou dost but accept it. Cooperation or exile. We fear thou wilt not.
Try me, White. Her glance played across the cavern, indicating the unicorns and goblins, all waiting for the settlement of adepts.
Needs must we have greater privacy than this, she said. Thy spell or mine?
Mine, he said. He played a bar of harmonica music, then saying, Give us a globe that none may probe. And about them formed an opaque shield that cut off all external light and sound. In a moment, light flared, as the witch made a spell of her own.
Now, before we suffocate, she said, I'll give it to thee without artifice. We want thee to destroy the oracle. Only thou canst do it, for thou art its tool. It will admit thee to its presence, if thou canst get somehow past the goblins, and thy power is great enough to do the deed. Destroy that evil machine, Blue, and phase will be saved. This is the loophole we dare not voice aloud. Only if it returns operative to Proton can it act to destroy phase, and it cannot foresee its own demise. Do this, Blue, and all other prophecies are null. We then shall have no onus against thee, and thou canst govern in phase.
Thou art asking me to betray a consciousness that trusts me? Styles said, disturbed. That has never been my way.
Agreed. Thou hast ever been honorable, Blue, which is why I trust myself to thy power here. It is no fault in thee that causes us to oppose thee. It is only that it is in thy power to save or finish phase. Save our land and suffer our gratitude. Try to destroy it and suffer our opposition, or vacate the frame so that we have no need to fear thee. These are thy choices, Blue. Thou knowest our determination. We are fighting for our lives and world. We are not limited by thy scruples, and our masked magic is stronger than thine. Thus united, we can attack thee directly. Oppose us not gratuitously.
It was a fair ultimatum, but Style found he could not take the easy way out. I love phase, he repeated. I want never to leave it. In addition, I am now a citizen in Proton with considerable wealth. I shall not sacrifice my place in both frames by forever departing the planet. That leaves me with two choices: join thee or oppose thee. I know nothing of these prophecies thou dost speak of. Why should I try to destroy a device that has done me no harm?
No harm,
She flared, her white hair seeming to darken and melt with the heat.
thou trusting fool! That device killed thee once, and imperiled thy life again by setting us against thee.
That last I perceive, Style agreed. Yet the business of the Oracle is making prophecies and being correct. If I am to be the leader of the forces of destruction of Phase, by helping this computer to return to Proton, though the reason remains opaque as to why it should wish ill to Phase, or how it could harm this frame from Proton, and someone inquires about that, the Oracle can but answer truthfully. Naturally, that imperils me, and I like it not. But neither can I fault it for that answer. Truth is often unpleasant. Rather should I inquire in what way I am to do a deed whose nature appalls me. Were I sure the Oracle would destroy Phase, I would not help it, and surely it is aware of that. There must be circumstances I know not, and that you other adepts know not. Better that I at least talk with the Oracle to ascertain the rationale.
Of course,
She said.
that is thy sensible response, and surely the machine is expecting thee to come to it. That makes it possible for thee to destroy it.
Or to help it to destroy Phase, Style said wryly. At the moment, I intend to do neither evil, but cannot see what rationale would sway me either way.
Then consider this, Blue. It was the Oracle who hinted at the doom of the Red Adept and started her mischief against thee. She killed thine other self and attacked thee in Proton, but it was the Oracle who motivated her. If thou dost seek vengeance for the murder of the Blue Adept, seek it at the source, the infernal Oracle. This is no sweet contraption like thy Golem mistress, Blue. It plays the game savagely.
But all its predictions were true, Style protested, experiencing a trace of doubt. I cannot blame it for fulfilling that role.
Fool! Dost thou not realize it was a self-fulfilling prophecy? Red attacked thee because the Oracle fingered thee, no other reason. The Oracle knew what would happen. It alone generated that murder, and knew that also.
Style was shaken. He was conversant with the bypass of logic. What was right? The Oracle had initiated the campaign against him. A lesser entity might have made a mistake, but the Oracle had to have known what it was doing. It had murdered Styles' other self, caused Styles knee misery, and set him on the horrendous path he had followed on the way to Phase and to vengeance against the Red Adept. Yet he remembered also that the original Blue Adept had accepted his own murder. Why? But why should the Oracle do this to me? He asked plaintively, seeking to resolve this part of the mystery. Maybe if he knew the Oracle's motive, he could fathom his alternate self's strange acquiescence. His mind was, after all, identical.
I suggest thou dost go ask it,
White said.
Ask also why it should seek to destroy thee, seek to use thee to destroy Phase. Then must thou do what thou shalt see fit to do.
It all did seem to add up, at least to this incomplete extent. He had to settle with the Oracle. I will go ask the machine, and then do what I see fit to do.
I meant that facetiously,
the White Adept said.
We do not believe the computer will allow thee to approach it unless it knows thou wilt side with it. I have made our case to thee, but thou hast not reacted with proper fury. Something we know not has influenced thee against us.
The knowledge of his other self's acquiescence. That was the influencing factor. "Of course I am not with thee," Style exclaimed. "I'm not with anyone who kidnaps and dehorns my steed. Thy methods make thy side suspect."
"And the methods of the oracle make it not similarly suspect?"
Style spread his hands. "I admit, I know not the final truth. I will seek the oracle."
"I did not think thou wouldst join us, but I undertook to make the case. Hadst thou accepted honestly?"
"I have done nothing dishonest."
"Aye, so we must destroy thee. Yellow will not like that, but it must be done. When we leave this bubble, it will be war between us. The other adepts have massed their power, and the goblins are ready."
"Fortunate art thou that thy trust in this truce was well placed, else would I simply confine thee here."
"Honor is not a luxury many of us can afford," she said sadly. "Yet in the name of honor, some are fools. Thou wilt not attack us or the oracle without fair warning. This makes thee ideal for whatever side can use thee."
She sighed.
"I do not hate thee, Blue. I respect thee. I, too, am true to my cause, and it is a worthy one. Thou art true only to thine honor, and therein lies thy grief. Fays will never be safe whilst Blue remains. Thus says our enemy, the oracle, and this we do believe. We like it not, but so must it be. Be on thy guard against my kind, Blue."
Style studied her. The White Adept was no young thing, and she had not bothered with Yellow's type of vanity. She looked old and ugly and careworn. He had encountered her before and found little to please him, but he knew she was a witch and a skilled one. Backed by the power of the other adepts, she was far more formidable than she appeared. Her warning had to be heeded. The adepts would now be fully unified and coordinated. The veil was off. Nothing would be held back. She was giving him the most forceful warning she could, without betraying her associates. He would have to get away from here in a hurry the moment the shell opened. Yet where could he escape to? The adepts could follow him anywhere in phase. White's warning, perhaps, was intended to focus his attention on this problem so that he would have a fair chance. His respect for her had been small. Now it had enlarged. She had taken pains to give information that he needed when she really hadn't had to. "I thank thee for thy courtesy, White," he said. Style released a spell that enclosed them and stood on guard. If the witch tried to strike against either unicorn, Style would counter the spell. By the same token, if he started magic against the lurking goblins, she would block it. Since no spell could be used twice, it was sheer waste for Adept to squander magic against Adept. Their special powers would cancel each other out, until the other Adepts oriented, and she had told him they were ready. He was outgunned and would have to move fast so that they could not keep proper track of him. "We must travel," Style cried. "I must stave off magic. You two handle the rest." He vaulted aboard the nearest unicorn, which happened to be the herd stallion. Clip was now outside the prison, probably having shifted to hawk form to pass by the bars. That meant he was back in full health, but Style was happier riding the stallion, whom he knew to be in full possession of his powers. Clip might tire quickly. The stallion blasted out a medley of chords. Goblins had appeared in the passage. They hastily faded back, heeding the warning. Clip went to hawk form and flew ahead, leading the way. The stallion launched himself forward. Style was only peripherally aware of these details. His attention was on the White Adept. As the stallion moved out, she started drawing a symbol in the dust on the floor. Style sang out a spell that was mostly in his head. "Dust Gust." The dust stirred up into a cloud, gusting about the cavern. The witch was unable to complete her sketch. Her spell had been intercepted. She could not function any better in this world than Style could when he had been a victim of the silent spell. She looked up, and Style saw with surprise that she was smiling. It was as if she were glad to see him escape. She must have spoken truly when she said she did not like this business. She had to fight him, but didn't really mind failing. Some adepts, it seemed, were not as bad as others. However, he had to heed her warning about the other enemy adepts, most of whom he had never interacted with. They would not hold back once they got around White's tacit obstruction and oriented directly on him. Meanwhile, the goblins were bad enough. These were their passages, and they were thoroughly conversant with the dusky recesses. The herd stallion was retracing the route they had descended, but suddenly a great iron gate slammed into place ahead, blocking the way. The stallion could not pass, and Clip barely squeezed back through the narrow aperture to rejoin them. They were caught in the passage, and a solid mass of goblins was wedging in behind them. The stallion played more chords. Clip, answering the command, shifted to man form and joined Style on the stallion's back. He was clothed now with a rapier. He drew this and faced back, menacing a few goblins who tried to squeeze in behind. Style got the idea. He unwrapped his concealed broadsword and sat ready to slice at any goblins who got within range to either side. His main attention was on whatever signs of hostile magic there might be, but he could slash while hardly looking. The stallion charged the goblins. They scattered, throwing their spears away in their frantic scramble to get clear. It was not that they were cowardly. It was that a ton of unicorn, bristling with horn and two-armed riders, was a truly formidable thing. Any who tried to stand their ground would be skewered or slashed or trampled. As it happened, a number could not get out of the way in time and were indeed trampled and skewered. There was a side passage. The unicorn hurtled into this, causing Style to grab for the mane in order to hold his seat, and thundered along it. Suddenly there was a ledge. The herd stallion could not break in time. He leaped out over the edge into the darkness of nothing. Then Style found himself riding the dragon. The stallion's dragon was not large for this type, being perhaps only 12 feet long from snout to tail, and Style's weight bore him down. Fortunately, Style was not large for his own type, and the dragon was able to spread his wings and descend slowly. Clip, of course, had converted to hawk form. Style still wore his grotesque shoes and turban. Quickly he sloughed these off, lightening the burden on the reptile, but the descent continued. The dragon snorted fire that illuminated the cavern. They were in a deep cleft whose upper reaches were lit by wan shafts of moonlight. There was their escape. But the dragon could not make it that high under Style's weight. Style, ready to spell, felt the questing magic of another adept and had to hold back. He could be messed up much as he had messed up White's spell, and in midair, that could be disastrous. Also, it seemed the enemies could not quite locate him as long as he remained in the dark and cast no spells. He had to hold off until it was safer. So the dim light above faded, and they dropped down into the deeper depths silently. There was a detonation of something. Light blazed and metallic fragments whistled by. Someone had fired an explosive amulet or something similar at them. This was blind shooting, hoping to catch the dragon by a random shot. The assailants did not have a perfect fix on Styles' party. Now he was certain that if he used defensive magic, he would give away his location. Better to lie quiet, like a submarine on a water planet, and hope the depth charges missed. The dragon tried again to rise, but could not. Style felt the body heating with the effort. This could not continue long. There was a pop behind them. The stallion dragon turned his head to send back a jet of flame, and the light showed a griffin, an enemy-headed lion, the next enemy adept sending. "Uh-oh," Style murmured. "Can't hide from that." But the stallion was burning hot from his exertions. He looped about, aimed his snout at the pursuing griffin, and exhaled a searing shaft of fire. The griffin squawked as it was enveloped in flame. The blaze of its burning wings lit up the entire cavern. It tumbled down to the water, smoking feathers drifting after it. But the next sending was another dragon, a big one. Its chest pumped like a bellows, building up pressure for a devastating blast that would incinerate Style and the stallion. The enemy was now fighting fire with fire. The hawk winged at it, too small and fast for the dragon to catch or avoid. The dragon ignored the bird, knowing nothing that size could dent its armored hide. The enormous metal foil wings beat swiftly, launching the dragon forward. The hawk dived, zeroing in on the dragon's head. Style could only watch with dismay, knowing Clip was throwing away his life in a useless gesture, a diversionary effort that was not working. He could not even think of a preventative spell on this too brief notice. The dragon opened its monstrous mouth to take in the tiny missile, and Clip changed abruptly to unicorn form. He struck horn first, piercing the dragon's head, his horn passing from inside the throat right on between the eyes and out, penetrating the little brain on the way. The strike was so unexpected and powerful that the monster simply folded its wings and expired. It plummeted to the water, while Clip changed back to hawk form and flew clear. "Well done!" Style cried, amazed and gratified. Now for a time there were no more sendings, but Style knew worse attacks were in the offing. His party had to get out of the chasm, and could not. Already they were close to the nether water. He had to relieve the herd stallion of his weight, yet was sure that the one enchantment the enemy adepts would have blocked would be a personal transport spell. They were trying to force Style to use it and launch himself into oblivion. The stallion sent forth more fire, just enough to light the way. The dark water below reflected with slight iridescence, as if oily. Style mistrusted that. He didn't want the stallion to fall into that liquid. He would have to risk magic. Not transport, of course. Something unexpected. The hawk had been circling. Now he came back, squawking news. Over and over he cried it, until Style was able to discern the word. "Curtain!" Style cried. "The curtain is ahead?" That was it. Now Style had a better alternative. "Fly low, stallion, and I'll pass through the curtain. Then thou and Clip can fly up and escape in the night. They want thee not, only me, and soon thou canst return to thy herd. I'll climb up on the proton side, where magic can't reach me." Of course, there would be other problems across the curtain, but he would handle them in due course. The stallion was in no position to argue. He glided low, and there in the dark was the scintillation of the curtain, crossing the chasm. If there's any sort of ledge, I don't want to drop too far. There was no ledge. It would have to be the water. They intersected the curtain, and Style spelled himself through. And that is that, everybody. That was the end of Chapter 9. And, Big Bouse? We'll go with that name. B-A-U-S, Big Bouse. Thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. Very much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed our reading this evening. The dog knows when I'm getting towards the end of my stream because of words that I say, and she starts to get up and get ready to go outside. It's the funniest thing. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed our reading this evening of chapters 8 and 9 of Juxtaposition, Book 3 of the Apprentice Adept series. I will be back again tomorrow with some Pathfinder. I believe we are back in Abomination Vaults tomorrow. And then Thursday, I don't know yet. Normally it would be Stompy Mech Night, but I may do something different. We'll see how Thursday is looking and what I want to do. One way or the other, I'll probably be here with you guys. And then Saturday, we will continue on starting in Chapter 10 of Juxtaposition. Just small warning, it might be a little bit later than normal of a start because my son and daughter have a hockey game. It's their first hockey game of the year. And so, of course, I am going to attend. I believe I will be there and back in plenty of time. But if we start a little bit late, you know why. But I will be here Saturday night for us to start into Chapter 10 and probably 11. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Again, if you have not done so yet, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, whether you're on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, wherever you're watching from. Head on over to youtube.com/@SirArminius and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please and thank you. You can catch all of the chapter replays of all of my live readings there. I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful evening and a fantastic week ahead until I see you again. Good night, everybody.